Hello YouTube, Xanthune coming at you with a replay from some multiplayer practice I had, playing as the Wood Elves up against Blue Sea's Vampire Coast. Basically this game, I was just trying to have a look at some of the changes to Orion and Ariel, see how impactful they are, and see whether or not they can still kick some ass. This is a matchup I quite like them in. Going with a full Vanguard build this game means I can get into Vampire Coast's face straight away and take away some of that range superiority they have. Now, some of the changes to Ariel, let's just quickly touch on them. Her leadership was changed from 100 to 90, so she's no longer unbreakable. Her entity mass was also changed by about 500, I believe. So that's going to make her much less easy to knock over, which in some ways is good, right? Because then she can't be knocked out of a blob. So she's going to be able to stick tight with Orion much easier. However, when a model gets knocked down, it actually can't take damage until it gets back up again. So Ariel being knocked about so much was actually kind of good for her. So that change might hurt her a little bit. However, as I said, there's ups and downs to that change. I don't think it's a straight up nerf. And Ariel's still going to be an absolute powerhouse, in my opinion. But we'll see how this replay goes. So, just touching on the builds, we've got 5 units of Dryads along the front line, all Vanguard deployed. Behind them, we've got 2 units of Glade Riders with Hagbane tips. Those are the poison arrows, of course. In this matchup, I actually don't know if I need to bring the poison tips because there's not a lot of units that are going to be chasing my Glade Riders. So I probably could have saved some money there. Nonetheless, we're just trying some stuff out, so it's fine. On the flanks, I've got some Wild Riders, accompanied by some Glade Riders with spears. The idea with pairing those two up is that the Glade Riders can take the hit from something charging in, or perhaps they can keep a unit busy while the Wild Riders charge through and get all the damage done. Same on this flank. And then, as my Lord and Hero, as I've already pointed out, I've got Orion and Ariel. Orion's going to be coming in with Horn of the Wild Hunt, which is, I think, a little bit overpriced. However, if used well, can be very impactful. Cloak of Isha, which did also receive a nerf. I believe it got 20% damage resistance taken from it, which means in those games where Orion's been reduced to like 20% HP, he's not going to be as tanky as he was. Still, though, he's going to have about 40% damage resist. So that's still going to be really good. So not the most significant change there, to be honest. He's of course got his bound abilities, the Hounds of Orion and the Hawk's Talon, which are really, really useful over the course of a long game. With Ariel, we've come in with Soul Stealer and Tempest. I quite like bringing Tempest in this matchup because you've got Luther Harkin on his Terrorgeist, and there's usually deck droppers. They're pretty popular in the meta right now. And Tempest is some really nice counterplay if you still want to go with like a full melee Vanguard rush. She's also got her bound abilities, Acorn of the Oak of Ages and Berry Wine. Interestingly, I believe Acorn of the Oak of Ages actually got a little nerf where it takes a little bit longer to actually cast a spell now. However, only the better players will be able to react to that and dodge it. So in my kind of games, which I would say I'm sort of middle of the pack in terms of competency in multiplayer, I don't think it's going to matter too much. You might see it taken less in sort of the higher level games though. Coming over to the Vampire Coast, we've got a bit of a box build, which is fairly common. You tend to see them a little bit more spread out than this. But still, box builds are really strong for the Vampire Coast because they have such great range tools. We've got 5 units of Zombie Pirate Deckhands Bob. These guys are going to be stopping my cavalry having the fun they would like to have. Their anti-large is going to mean they can drag down large entities really, really well. At the back, we've got 1 unit of Scurvy Dogs. I really like dog units. I think they're so cost effective and really, really not easy to use, but there's a lot of good situations that they can do really well in. Over here, we've got 4 units of Deck Droppers, 2 of which are the regular type, which can fire on the move, but lack some armor piercing, I believe. And then some deck droppers with handguns, which I believe are supposed to be better at killing infantry, but the armor piercing is going to melt through most things, to be honest. So 4 of those in total. And then in the center, we've got Count Noctilus, going to be leading his forces in this fight. he's coming in with a couple of summons. He's got the spell to summon up some zombies. What's it called? Drown Dead, that's the one. Also, Captain Roth's Moondial, so more summons there. Lots of summons on the table. Wraithstorm, which is going to be quite good at doing some damage. I think it's really good at killing single entities, to be honest. I see it used on Orion quite a lot in this matchup when I bring him, and it does a fair amount of damage. Also coming in with Arcane Conduit, and of course, Invocation of Nehek. Probably one of the most important spells for this faction. And then the only other units I haven't mentioned are, of course, the Animated Hulks coming in with some anti-infantry, so they'll do some good work against my Dryads if given the opportunity. A lot of damage going to be expected to come through from the Shade Wraith Gunners, the Regiment of Renowned Deck Gunners here. They should be able to do some good work to my Dryads. They're going to cut through that physical resist the Dryads have quite nicely. And then we've got some Sirens guarding one flank, and a heavy hitter, the Necrofex Colossus, coming in with 838 missile strength. So yeah, heavy metal stuff right there. Alright, let's jump in. So, starting us off, Shade Wraith Gunners opening up into my Dryads. That's perfectly fine with me. I don't want them opening up into my more expensive pieces, like my Cavalry or my Heroes and Lords. Meanwhile, Cavalry is coming up the flanks on both sides, looking to envelop this box. However, because of these polearms, they should be able to resist my cavalry charge quite nicely. Deck Drop is firing in, and this is what I was talking about. By putting the Glade Riders closer to the box, they're the ones absorbing the fire, not my Wild Riders. More Deck Droppers coming over this side. There's actually 5 in total. My bad, I said 4 earlier. Hands of Orion coming down. I believe Acorn of the Oak of Age actually hit these Sirens earlier. And these Deck Droppers did have to reposition due to a Hawk's Talon. Lots of damage going down on my Glade Riders with Hagbane Tips. That really sucks because they're really my only tool outside of using Tempest to deal with these Deck Droppers. These Sirens going up against Dryads, which is a little unfortunate because Dryads actually do magic damage. So those Ethereal units not being able to be used to their fullest extent. And the rear charge from those Wild Riders actually collapse those Sirens instantly. So that's really rough for the Vampire Coast player here. Deck Drop is chasing off my ranged skirmish cavalry, which is a little bit rough for me, but while they're busy, I can sort of take control of this center pocket. My Dryad are going to munch through these polearms very nicely. That's the situation they like to be in. These Animated Hulks are going to be a bit troublesome though. Soulstealer going down here, healing up Ariel and doing some really nice damage, managing to pin in these Shade Wraith Gunners, which is really good for me. I need to find a way of dealing with this Necrofex Colossus though. I don't have a whole lot of anti-large in this build. Orion, of course, does come in with a really nice anti-large, but he's just one model, and he's going to take a while to chew through a Necrofex Colossus. So I'm hoping my Wild Riders have the tools to take him down. We'll see. So just cycling my Wild Riders in and out. Deck Droppers, unfortunately, are coming back, so that's really bad. Really, really bad for me, because they're going to pick off my Wild Riders quite nicely. Looks like Ariel is taking a lot of damage as well, so it might be that my opponent chooses to just focus her down, which would be really bad for me. Shade Wraith Gunners, unfortunately, not able to accrue too much value. Going to go down to Orion's bound ability, the Hawk's Talon. Dryads are going to finish munching through some of these zombies. They need to make their way to this center pocket and support Orion and Ariel. Wild Riders really getting torn apart by these Gunners in the air, although it looks like they're going after Wild Riders over here, so they're getting slowly dragged down. Really nice Tempest coming in here. I was really happy with this because it caught two and a bit of those units of Deck Droppers, and as I said, I had no tools of dealing with them, so using my magic to get rid of those is definitely the right way to go. The problem is, of course, by using that spell, it means I've got less magic for Soul Stealers, and Ariel is starting to get really low. I'm going to drop Berry Wine on her in a sec to keep her in the fight. But as you can see, despite the fact she's taking so much damage, her leadership being at 90, even if it's not unbreakable, means she's going to be really hard to break off while she's with Orion, because she's got that extra 4 leadership from being next to her Lord, obviously. You can see she's starting to maybe waver a little bit here and there, but no, still rocking 50 leadership on Ariel. So really, I don't think that leadership change is going to impact the game too much at all. Good players are not going to let Ariel get isolated. So that leadership change not going to matter too much. Not going to matter too much. Wild Rider's still charging in and out. Deck Droppers still having their way. It looks like they are going to bring Ariel down, unfortunately. She's getting a little bit lower. A little bit lower, a little bit lower, a little bit lower. And there's still plenty of ammunition on these Deck Droppers. Still in the fight for now. It is starting to look a little bit sparse at the Vampire Coast. All of their zombies are being dragged down. And whenever they summon more up, I'm able to have an Abound ability and then a cavalry charge in to just get rid of them. Count Noctilus is still rocking about half his HP. Needs to get some healing down on him. And Ariel actually just went down there. But just as she went down, beyond the grave, we have a Tempest coming through on one of the more healthy troops of the Deck Droppers. So that's really bad. I didn't know spells still went through. I thought when a unit died, the spell was cancelled, but I guess not. That's good to know. That is really good to know. And it's just coming down to Count Noctilus now. The Deck Droppers still around, but they are going to be slowly getting dragged down by my returning Glade Riders. And Orion still has some ammunition available. And looks like we've got Count Noctilus just wading through the forest of Dryads. And just getting hit in the front by some Wild Riders at the end there. So yeah, well played to my opponent. Really like the build. The Deck Droppers were a bit of a menace there. Some really nice value on them. Unfortunately, I think the Sirens... Ethereal units are a bit of an interesting pick against Wood Elves, because Wood Elves have a lot of magic damage, quite cheap to take. So maybe regular Deck Droppers and something instead of the Sirens would have been a little better here. But nonetheless, really nice value on Noctilus, so well played. As for Ariel and Orion, as you can see, I mean, look at that value on Ariel. She did go down, but she got a lot of damage down before she did. The changes, I don't think, are going to impact her too much. In some matchups, she was very good. In others, not so much. And this is one I think she can do really well in. So I still think we're going to be seeing a fair amount of Ariel from Wood Elf players. Orion coming in with some decent value that game. I mean, he's still a powerhouse. He still does a lot of damage if given the right circumstances. Dryads, yeah, pretty happy with them. These guys don't tend to pay for themselves, but I treat them as a bodyguard unit for the Wild Riders, who also didn't pay for themselves, but they did do the work that needed to get done. They recharged the Sirens, and then they were just cycle charging the Necrophag's Colossus, which did eventually go down. And unfortunately, these Glade Riders didn't do too great, which is pretty rare. Usually Glade Riders with poison arrows pay for themselves quite easily. You put them on skirmish mode, anything that tries to chase them, they just run away from and shoot them, because they can fire on the move. However, the Deck Droppers were a really nice counter into them. Maybe in this matchup, actually, it's better to bring the non-poison variant, or even maybe Hawk Riders. At least Hawk Riders could then engage the Deck Droppers in melee. It's hard to say. I need to experiment a little bit with that. Alright, that's going to round it out for now. Thanks for tuning in, and if you enjoyed the video, please don't forget to like and subscribe. Until next time, take care.